with the last chunk of time that we have, I need to shift gears, and we're going to move away from what's going on in the Eastern Theater, and we're going to focus on what's going on in the West. Now, I do just want to remind you guys, because I know I told you this very early on, the Eastern Theater is just located right in here. Virginia, into Pennsylvania, into Maryland, even a little bit in Delaware. This is where we have battles of Bull Run, Antietam, Gettysburg. It's all located there. The Western Theater is considerably larger, but there's one big key thing that's going to really determine what takes place in the West. Now, we even started talking about this way early on. Within the West, there is one thing that dominates all the planning. It's right through here. What is this right through here? Brecken, what is it? The Mississippi River. Now, first, let me say this. There's going to be really two enormous battles that are going to be centered around controlling the Mississippi. Now, I know you guys have at least heard of these. This is Shiloh and Vicksburg. Shiloh and Vicksburg are going to take place basically right here, just inside of southwestern Tennessee, and also right here, just really on the border between Louisiana and Mississippi. Now, what do you notice about where those battles take place? What are they right next to? Mississippi River. Now, we talked about for a few reasons as to why the Mississippi is so important. Do you remember? Why is it so important to control the Mississippi? Think back to kind of the key battle plans for this. What's one thing? Matthew, what's one thing? I was doing it the other day, wasn't I? I'm sorry. Yes, Andrew.
For the North, they want to split the Confederacy.
Excellent. You control the Mississippi. You isolate the Western Confederate States. Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas are basically removed from the war if you control the Mississippi. Good. What else is there about controlling the Mississippi? Why is that such good news? Something else, Izzy?
Getting supplies to troops.
Excellent. This is the major waterway north and south. You control this, you control the major transportation hub. Excellent. Now, if we're going to control the Mississippi, we need to be certain that Union ships are the only ones cruising north and south. These two victories are going to cement control of the Mississippi. Now, there's something else that I got to point out here. These victories come in 1862 and 1863. Are we having a whole lot of success in the Eastern Theater in 62 and 63? Is the North winning anything, really? Not much at all. How are things going for the Union in the West? Do we have some success here? Yeah. There's some success out West. This is going to catch the eye of President Lincoln. Now, for a couple of reasons why, but first I need to say this. Do you remember what Lincoln keeps doing with his commanders? He has some real serious problems with them. So what has he done? How many commanders has he gone through? Do you remember?
3 or 5.
He eventually gets through 4 commanders here. He is going to promote one and then fire him. Promote one, fire him. Lincoln's looking for that one commander who might be able to win the war for him. Now, by 63, yes, Meade has had some success. He defeats Lee at Gettysburg. But Lincoln still thinks that Meade doesn't have what it takes to end the war. From here, Lincoln looks to the Western Theater, and he finds a commander out west who might have the force of personality to end the war. He finds Ulysses S. Grant. Now, I'll tell you this about Grant. Grant has been very average his whole life. He did go to West Point, but he was about middle of his class, roughly. He does have some experience from the Mexican-American War. He's proven to be an excellent leader. But other than that, Grant has failed a lot. In fact, Grant never really liked military life. Even as he said it, military life took him away from the one thing, well, I can't say that. It took him away from someone he loved very much. Grant loved his wife, and being away from her killed him. So when he has a career in the army, he retires and he goes home to his wife. He becomes a dentist, and he's a terrible dentist. So then he becomes an insurance salesman, and he's a terrible insurance salesman. So then he becomes an inventor, and he invents this tonic that probably killed a handful of people. Things have not gone well for Grant when the Civil War begins. When it begins, he goes back into the military because it's true. He has a gift for leadership. He is a very capable commander, and simply just his personality, people gravitate towards. When Lincoln's considering giving him the job of the commander of the Union Army, he calls him to the White House. Grant's going to meet Lincoln at the White House, and Lincoln basically asks him point blank. He says, "What would you do to win the war?" And Grant just tells him. He says, "I know how to win the war. I can win the war for you. I don't think you have the courage to do what's necessary." Now keep in mind, this is the president he's talking to. Lincoln kind of just sort of asks him a little more convincingly, saying, you tell me, what will it take to win the war? I'm asking you. And Grant tells him something that probably made Lincoln a little bit nervous. He tells him, you need to annihilate the South. You need to crush them. You need to burn them to the ground. There's an old saying, the victor is not the victor until the defeated accepts their defeat. Let me say it again. The victor is not the victor until the defeated accepts their defeat. What is this old saying basically showing? What do you guess either?
Like, if it's close, it's not like a true victory.
Okay, I think that's a great place to start. If it's close, it's not a true victory. What happens if the defeated never gives up? Can you claim victory then? This is what Grant is basically saying. You need to annihilate them so that there is no room for any discussion. As Grant is even going to say, there is no such thing as a negotiated peace at this point. One side has to destroy the other. If you're going to win this war, you leave no question. You annihilate them. Now, like I say, Lincoln is probably taken aback by this a little bit. Because Lincoln's kind of thinking of the post-war country. He's sort of thinking about what's going to happen when we try to bring these states back. If they're just annihilated, that's going to be very difficult. Grant, being the military man, is basically saying, I don't care. End the war. What Grant says is, you're going to have to do something that has been done for millennia before you. It's just on a much grander scale. You need to shift your efforts into what's called a total war approach, where you convert everything in your society to win the war. Your factories making consumer goods? Not anymore. You're making tools of war. Anyone who can serve, serves in the war. You need to crush the South. Destroy everything. Anything they can use to continue fighting the war, eliminate it. Anything that they can use to provide comfort, destroy it. Homes, burn them. Factories, level them. Churches, burn them to the ground. But there's a bit of a problem with this. Grant is a really nice guy. Even Grant probably doesn't have the stomach to end the South's economic, physical, and psychological ability to keep fighting. He needs someone else to do his dirty work for him. Someone that's been waiting for an opportunity for some time. someone that's been passed over for promotions again and again and again, someone who needs to make a mark. When I see you guys next week, we're going to talk about that person who does have the stomach to destroy the South. Now here's the deal. When I see you guys next week, you do have something coming up. When's your reading quiz? On Wednesday. Be certain that you're ready for that. Have a good day, and I will see you guys next week.
What should I do for the notes that I missed?